Oh, you got to help me with this, gang. Why are Obama, Reid, Boehner, and company all hailing this deal to avoid a government shutdown? Is the Budman the only one who thinks this is a joke, a bad joke, and a colossal failure of leadership and an unwillingness to come to grips with the reality of the problems we face fiscally? Am I the only one who on this Monday morning wants to throw them all in the Potomac? Good Monday morning to you. The Bud Man here on the 50,000-watt front porch. My take, your calls on the hottest topics in talk radio. Jen is still out of town, getting a little bit of well-deserved R&R. Jeff's running the board. Mike's handling the screening, and we're here for you until 6 o'clock this morning. We've got lots to talk about, but I want to get right to this deal that was cut at the 11th hour to avert the dreaded government shutdown. Even though 90% of the government would have kept right on rolling. Oh, we had to avoid this. It'll cripple the economic recovery. My goodness, people won't get services. National parks will be closed. We won't be able to see Abe Lincoln at the memorial, for crying out loud. Come back next year, he'll still be there. Give me a break. So will Yellowstone. I mean, gee whiz. And you know the thing that kills me on this? Now, I know there are some of you who are out there who are saying, and I get emails about this, you know, Budman, I really like you, but every once in a while you go hard right, and I really don't like it when you do that, when you get really conservative and you stand up for things like, oh, I don't know, maybe like the country not going bankrupt into financial oblivion, like maybe standing up for something other than the end of the America that we have known and you know, you're just too extreme, Budman. You can't expect them to cut too much. It's too tough. It's too fast. Do you understand? They cut $39 billion off fiscal 2011. Okay? We started at $100 million. The Republicans campaigned on that $100 billion. Remember that? $100 billion. Well, it can't be $100 billion because we're already into fiscal 2011. That would have been like if it was a whole year, you know, it's a whole year, so we can't be doing all of that. So we get to $61 billion. Well, the Democrats, they don't want to cut anything. All of a sudden, the Democrats, Harry Reid says, well, I think maybe we could cut like maybe $6 billion, but we got people who expect services from the government and people who want to depend on. Give me a break. And finally, they get to some kind of, I don't know, $33 billion, and Boehner says it's got to be 40. It winds up being $39 billion. And some of you are out there saying, well, you know, doggone it, that's the biggest spending cut ever passed by the House of Representatives in the history of this country. And you're absolutely right, it is. Isn't that astounding to think of that in the history of the Republic? We have never been in such bad shape that we cut as much as $39 billion at once. Okay? Then again, we've never had $1.5 trillion annual deficit. We've never had a month like February where the debt increased $233 billion in a single month. We've never been on the edge, on the precipice of complete financial collapse with a $14 trillion debt. Oh, and by the way, we'll be talking about the debt ceiling, because if you think they had trouble getting this deal done for $39 billion in cuts, wait until we get to this debt ceiling vote. I'll tell you, this is going to be unbelievable. But let me tell you something. Before you say, you know, Bud, you know, you just come on here and all you do is complain. You know, could you just come on? It's Monday morning. I had a great weekend. Could you make me feel good? I would love to make you feel good. But more than that, I would like to get your attention. I would like to give you a reality check. And here it is. Are you ready? They cut 39. Jeff, why are you guys laughing at the Budman in there? Because I'm on fire this morning.
And you're right. Wake up, people. I know it's early, but wake up.
Mike's in there. He's saying the Budman is going to have apoplexy. No, I'm not. My blood pressure, thanks to Dr. Ken Cronhouse from Lake Cardiology, about whom you will hear more later, 120/80. I'm in good shape. Listen to this. They cut $39 billion. They are backslapping, you know, like a bunch of teammates in the locker room after they just won the World Series. They're doing all but spraying champagne all over each other. John Boehner, Harry Reid, Barack Obama, and most of the White House staff, most of the Boehner-Reid camps in Congress, okay? House and Senate. Look what we've done for the people. We cut $39 billion. Wait until I tell you how paltry and insultingly small that number is. Wait until I tell you what happened to the national debt in the 7 days it took them to cut $39 billion. This is why I'm on fire, and you should be too. Now, please, call me. Am I the only one who wants to throw the lot of them in the Potomac this morning, who feels sold out, disappointed, angry, betrayed, and, oh, yes, very afraid what is ahead? 407-916-5400. Toll free, 1-866-916-5400. If I am the only one, I will jump out this window, and we are 4 floors up on the 50,000-watt front porch. 612, good morning. Real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. You know, this weekend, Lynn and I had an opportunity to go to a really nice party or two, and we pulled up after I washed the Acura RL, which is jet black, their top-of-the-line sedan. After we pulled up, we were turning heads all over the place. There were other luxury vehicles there, the more familiar names perhaps, but people were asking us, what is that, Budman? Tell me about this Acura. And I told them about high performance. I told them about luxury. I talked to them about the head-turning styling, and they were evidence of that. And I told them about Fountain Acura, which is a terrific dealership, has a family-owned dealership, goes back years and years and years, which is where you need to go to see the full lineup of Acuras. And right now, on the Acura RL and their top-of-the-line 7-passenger MDX at Fountain, financing rates as low as 0.9% for well-qualified buyers like you. And if you want to upgrade your current Acura model, if you love it as much as I do, to a new Acura model, you can do it for no money down and a similar monthly payment. What an opportunity. What a dealership. Connect to Fountain Acura, South OVT, just south of the Florida Mall. Online, fountainacura.com. You know, we're talking about this fiscal calamity in Washington, and of course it all comes down to everybody's individual situation. If you're close to retirement, your folks are close to retirement, you're worried about whether or not that whole nest egg is going to be there for you. It gets complicated. I mean, we're talking about tax, Social Security, estate planning, investment issues, just to name a few. And what I want you to do is get some peace of mind by getting some expertise and integrity behind you and a course of action in place by contacting my friends Jack Nelson and Joel Garris from Nelson Investment Planning Services for a free 2-hour consultation. No obligation at all. You can walk away. But I think you're going to love these guys. They'll get to know you personally, your financial situation. If you ask them to, they'll put a customized plan in place to protect and grow your retirement nest egg. How to get income from your money in retirement. Would you like the answer? I want you to get a hold of them and schedule a free 2-hour consultation. You can sit down and talk with them about anything you want. Nelson Investment Planning Services, 407-629-6477, 407-629-NIPS. I know it's early. I know it's Monday. I know you want me to make you happy, and I got some fun stuff coming up on the show. I think your eyes and your brains are just glazed over. Maybe you've just thrown in the towel and given up, and maybe you feel, and I believe me, I understand where you are because I have to resist this all the time, to just say they are never going to serve us well in Washington. Doesn't matter who we put up there. That they are never going to take the drastic measures required to save this country from economic collapse. And maybe it just has to collapse, rebuild it. Maybe it'll be a different kind of America. I don't know. Maybe it'll be something we sort of recognize. Maybe not. Maybe we'll all just have to settle for becoming Greece, for becoming a third world country. Goodness knows what. And maybe you're just thinking, well, you know, Bud, man, they cut $39 billion, and I know it's not enough, but I'm just tired. Well, listen, if you all think that, there is no hope. There is no hope. Conservatism, the Tea Party as a political entity, are the last best hope for the America we have known and loved. They're feeling great in Washington over cutting $39 billion. They went through hell and high water, they say, for 7 days to cut that deal at the 11th hour Friday night to avert the government shutdown on the deadline. Cutting $39 billion. In those 7 days, the national debt, that is $14 trillion and counting, went up $54 billion. Do you hear me? They cut $39 billion for the rest of fiscal 2011, which is until the 1st of October, and they are jumping up and doing high fives. We can get along. We can do the tough business of the people's work. We're fiscally responsible. We get it. They cut $39 billion between now and the 1st of October, and in the 7 days it took them to strike the deal, the national debt went up $54 million. Okay? Do the math. Do the math. In 1 week, we're $15 billion short. And this is serving the people? Am I the only one who is as worked up as I am over all of this? Well, actually, no, I'm not. 407-916-5400, 622, updating real-time traffic and weather together on the twos now. Sunny and hot today, up to 91 degrees, 70 here in Orlando. No, I'm not alone here. We've got some Tea Party patriots who were just as bent out of shape as the Bud Man over this deal. Everyone else in Washington was cheering, and the mainstream media cheering it too. Look what they were able to do. Bipartisanship, people working hard, tirelessly, day and night for a solid week. Republicans and Democrats coming together. The president finally showing leadership. Yeah, all right. Well, the Tea Party folks in Washington get it. The founder of the Tea Party caucus in the House of Representatives, Michelle Bachmann, representative out of Minnesota, she says this is disappointing. 39 billion cuts, that millions of Americans expected $100 billion in cuts, and so we did. Senator Rand Paul, Tea Party guy out of Kentucky, he echoed the Budman and Bachmann, saying the stopgap measure does not set us on a path to fixing the spending and debt problems our country is facing. There's not much of a difference, he said, between a $1.5 trillion deficit and a $1.6 trillion deficit. Both will lead us to a debt crisis from which we may not recover. And how insulted were you that Harry Reid was laying most of the blame for the difficulties and the breakdowns in budget negotiations at the feet of the Tea Party movement and the 87 new conservative Republicans who are the only reason there's any attempt being made at significant cuts, and most of them are right out of the grassroots of our Tea Party movement. They're being blamed for making it difficult to get a budget deal. The Tea Partiers are being blamed by Chuck Schumer, who says they are extremists. And the Democrat Party caucus all got together and decided every time they refer to the Tea Party, they will refer to them as extremists. Now, let me ask you, have you ever lost your job? I'll bet you in the last year or two, if you haven't lost it, you've lost a lot of your income. You certainly have no security. You've gathered the family together and you've said, we've got to take some very severe steps to survive here. Are you extremist when you call for drastic cuts in the family budget to survive? What could be more fundamentally right and American than what you and I have done since the economic meltdown began, just to survive and to do what is responsible and to save the potential for a bright future to return? All of these things that we have done on the family level, that you have done on a family level, that I have done, are these extreme? Of course they're not extreme. They're right. They're responsible. They're fundamentally American. Why are they wrong, irresponsible, and fundamentally un-American when we stand up for them at the federal level? 407-916-5400. Oh, the next one that's coming here. We got two more things have to happen. And the first thing is we got to have a vote on the debt ceiling limit, because that could hit. We could top out at $14.3 trillion, which is all that is authorized from the last increase. May 16th. They may be able to engineer some accounting tricks to extend it, they say, to the 8th of July. But sometime between the 16th of May and the 8th of July, there's going to have to be a vote on this. And we are now being told by the likes of Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and Tim Tax Cheat Geithner, the Secretary of the Treasury, we absolutely have no choice. We have to raise the debt limit. We have to do it. Or the world markets will see this and the entire world economy will go into a tailspin and a collapse. It'll be worse than the meltdown of the fall of 2008. I've got to tell you right now, I'm with Marco Rubio, who says he will not vote to raise the debt limit unless there are serious, major spending cuts, the likes of which we have yet to see raised in a serious way in Washington. And into all of this, enter President Barack Obama. I'm watching the Sunday shows yesterday morning. He's got his guy Fluff in there, and Fluff is talking, and he's on all of the shows, and he says, oh, by the way, President Obama on Wednesday is going to make a speech to the nation about major spending cuts, entitlements, the whole deal. All of a sudden, some presidential leadership. He's trying to hijack this thing. He's trying to take ownership of this thing. He didn't want to cut a single dime. The best he could do in the State of the Union was a spending freeze. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to take the leadership? Give me a break. Let's go to Scott in Orlando on BHL at 628. Scott, hi there.
Hey, John, Bud, how are you? I just want to let you know that there's a lot of, disconcerting news in this situation, but there is some good news, too. You know, it's $30-some billion has been cut, and I know that you're lamenting that's not as big a number as that you'd like, and frankly, I wouldn't like it to be a whole lot bigger, too, or would like it to be a lot bigger, too. But you have to realize that is $30-some billion every year, so over 10 years, that's about $1/3 of $1 trillion. But there is a little...
Whoa, let's do the math here. It's $300 billion. Is that a...
$1/3 of $1 trillion.
Okay, I'll give you that. So you're feeling good about that, and I should too.
Well, I'm feeling better than, nothing. And, you have to realize the political tsunami that's been working against our side over the last 15, 20 years is enormous. I mean, obviously Harry and Barack didn't want to do this, but they finally came to their senses because they realized there's so many of us are looking. We don't want to be Greece, and we don't want to be Portugal, and we don't want to be Ireland. But the other thing I think is real important is that there are 34 senators up for re-election in 2012, 34, including Bill.
22 of them are Democrats.
And that's just it, and a lot of them are in very deep political pudding.
Yep.
And there's a lot of guys that probably aren't going to be around next year, and we just got to keep the pressure on them. And Bud, you're doing a great job. Thank you for keeping the spotlight on this. Is a big deal.
Thank you, Scott, so much. Coming up, the Wall Street Journal report right after the news. Stay with the Bud Man. We're just getting cranked up. Good Monday morning. Hey, my friends at Florida Insurance Specialists may be able to save you minutes from now, hundreds, even more than $1,000 a year on your homeowner's insurance through their amazing technology, all pegged to their incredible website, ChallengeMyRate.com. Just go there and see what you can save, ChallengeMyRate.com. One of my listeners from Palm Bay, $1,100 saved annually on homeowners by being switched by Florida Insurance Specialists from State Farm, which just got a 19% rate hike, to Security First Insurance. Find out what you can save. Go to ChallengeMyRate.com, ChallengeMyRate.com, or call Florida Insurance Specialist 407-805-0200.
Bud Henninger Live continues with news from the Fox Orlando News Center on 540 WFLA.
It's 6:30. I'm Michelle Morello, 540 WFLA News. There will be an emergency custody hearing this morning to decide who will get custody of the children of an Orlando man who killed their mother because she didn't want to marry him. Police say Ruth Owino wanted to end her relationship with Nestor Habaguera, but the man would not allow her to break off the engagement. Detectives say he bludgeoned her with a hand weight when police arrived at their home. He led officers to the woman who was in a bathroom. The couple had 4 children together who were put in protective custody after the murder. It's week number 5 of the legislative session, only 4 weeks to go before lawmakers adjourn. Senate President Mike Herodopoulos of Merritt Island says they'll be spending a lot of that time on the budget.
We're going to spend less. There's going to be no new taxes. And I think we're proving that we can actually work together, House, Senate, and Governor. I think we'll prove that over the next month.
Lawmakers are planning on $4 billion worth of budget cuts. Herodopoulos says they'll also be trying to find money for the corporate tax cuts that are at the top of the governor's legislative wish list. Some 1.8 million Florida public school students will be taking the state's key standardized testing during the next 2 weeks. Florida Comprehensive Assessment test scores used to help determine a school's success, teacher quality, and whether students can advance a grade or get a diploma. The testing begins today, continues through the 22nd. Today is Tax Freedom Day in Florida. Cale Padgett, an economist with the nonprofit Tax Foundation, breaks it down.
Tax Freedom Day represents the theoretical day in which Americans
Bud wanted to know, we got into this break a little late. Can we take it to 40 after?
All of their taxes, including federal, state, and local taxes.
Tax Freedom Day comes a day ahead of the national average Tax Freedom Day. That's because the state tax burden in Florida is a little lower than for the rest of the nation as a whole. Congressional officials putting it all down on paper, the deal that was worked out Friday night to fund the government through September and make $38.5 billion in spending cuts. President Barack Obama getting ready to unveil a plan this week to reduce the deficit, partly by scaling back the government's main health programs for seniors and the poor. In the Masters, Tiger Woods made a dramatic charge on Sunday, but it was South Africa's Charles Schwartzel who captured the green jacket. 540 WFLA News Time, 6:32. I'm Michelle Morello. Get these stories and more at 540WFLA.com. Coming up, more BHL.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, continue to see a problem-free ride so far this morning along I-4 between the Attractions and Deltona areas. If you are headed over to I-95, we do have delays northbound just before State Road 520. There's a serious wreck in this area. 528 is moving well between I-4 and the coast, and we're delay-free along the 408. The Greenway and the Turnpike also running up to speed. If you do see a trouble spot on the roadways, call the tip line at 866-676-TIPS. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
Traffic on Air Online, a service of Serrano Beach Resort and Conference Center. Hey, Orlando residents, enjoy a slice of paradise about 2 hours away and with zero hassles. Serrano Beach Resort on St. Pete Beach has sugary beaches, Hollywood perfect sunsets, and more. Visit Serrano.com for details. Serrano, imagine it's all here.
Weather on 540 WFLA is brought to you by GrandCareFlorida.com.
From 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel, off to a great start. Sunny and hot, close to record-setting high temperatures again today, topping out at 93. We've got a front moving in tomorrow that could bring some strong thunderstorms and cooler temperatures Tuesday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm David Maddox at the Weather Channel.
We serve both sides of the breakfast menu, but recommend what's on the right. BHL continues on 540 WFLA.
We've been talking about the prospects of America as we have known her and loved her surviving. I can tell you, America is changing, and that's where we begin on this morning's Daily Wall Street Journal report with Mike Salvatorelli. He's got some interesting journal perspectives on the census. Good morning, Mike. Take it away. You know, that's already happened in Florida. We are one of the majority-minority states, and that's all occurred in the last decade here. Let's take a look at the Wall Street Journal report reporting on the prospect of accelerating economic growth later this year. What do you see? You know, Mike, I think a lot of folks don't realize that the Wall Street Journal regularly polls a group of 56 economists throughout the year. So you are constantly taking the temperature of the U.S. economy with some of the very best experts, and lots of them looking at it constantly for you. You know, Lynn and I like to go to the movies a lot. I'm sure a lot of our listeners do, and you probably do as well. And I always enjoy the previews, those trailers, unless there are too many of them. Actually, apparently, the Journal is reporting we may be seeing few of them, and it's interesting why. Well, you know, you go to the movie theaters around here, and you have all of these palaces, and you can see how they're really struggling, you know, for the competition, just like you're reporting on here. A lot of times you go to the movies, and it's just like there's hardly anybody there. And I can see why they want to fight to keep exclusive rights to these films as long as they can. Their very survival may be at stake. Yes. Well, this is why you and I relate so well to each other. We're both from the Paleozoic era. Thank you, Mike Salvatorelli from the Journal. Catch you in the morning, okay? All right, 6:40 here on the 50,000-watt front porch. This is a difficult story. It was an exclusive over the weekend that you might have missed in the Orlando Sentinel. And it's disturbing, and there are many aspects to it. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about this in some ways. But let me tee this up so we can have a conversation here. And particularly, I'm interested in having you parents and teachers and school administrators with me throughout the next segment on this. The word is out that Orange County led the entire state of Florida. We have 67 counties. Nobody else was even close. By restraining unruly students 1,900 plus times since the start of the school year through the 31st of March. Nobody else even half that among the counties, even the big counties here. That we have kids, disabled and otherwise, who are such a problem in the classroom with their unruly behavior, and in some cases menacing behavior, that two techniques are used that are causing Orange County schools to come in for a lot of criticism. One is restraining these kids. I mean, they're literally strapped into a mat that is wrapped around them. And other kids are, quote-unquote, secluded, isolated in special rooms from other kids. Is the school district being abusive, or are they just trying to maintain an environment in which learning for the rest of the well-behaved kids is possible? My biggest question here is, if these kids are persistent problems, what in the world are we allowing them in the classroom with the other kids? One kid disrupting the entire learning environment for all the rest of the kids and the teacher? It makes no sense to me. 407-916-5400 as we roll on. 642 on BHL. Hey, you want to brighten up your Monday? How about lunch or dinner at Houlihan's? 4 locations in Orlando. What a tradition. Lynn and I have fallen in love with Houlihan's. You're going to love it. The food is terrific, and almost everything they have is made from scratch, which is so unusual in the restaurant business. Terrific prices, varied menu, everything you would ever want. Any taste, any price, friendly service, warm atmosphere. I mean, Houlihan's, there really is no place like the 4 Houlihan's locations here. And they also have these new menus of 30 small plates from just $3 a pop. How about that at Houlihan's? Check it out online at Houlihan's.com. Lunch or dinner tonight at Houlihan's. 4 locations, 192 in Kissimmee, University Boulevard, near UCF, East Colonial, and I Drive. You're going to love Houlihan's. Hey, the Bud Man here for my friend Dr. Ken Kronhaus is an incredible staff at Lake Cardiology. This is where they're on the cutting edge of all things heart-related. This is where they pioneered the Bud Scan, heart scan technology breakthrough, had it before anybody else. They're so good at what they do at Lake Cardiology, home of the one and only Dr. K, that ICACTO, the commission that sets the standard for quality care and heart CT scanning, has made them the only medical facility anywhere in Central Florida that they will accredit for CT scanning of the heart. Doctors, hospitals, any other practice, the only one so honored. Lake Cardiology, home of Dr. K, home of the Bud Scan. This scan's quick and easy, nothing to fear, and it may well show, as it showed with me, problems inside your ticker that you need to deal with before you go lights out from a sudden heart attack you didn't see coming. And I didn't have any symptoms of heart trouble. The Bud Scan revealed problems I needed to deal with, or I would have been a goner long ago. Literally saved my life. It's an incredible place to go for anything heart-related. It starts with a phone call to Lake Cardiology, home of Dr. K, where you ask them, could this Bud Scan Bud Hettinger's always talking about possibly be right for me? They'll get to know you and your situation, and you'll have your answer and take it from there. 352-735-1400. Lake Cardiology and the Bud Scan. 352-735-1400. There's legislation pending in Tallahassee right now that, if it passed, would eliminate the practice of restraining and secluding these unruly kids, handicapped and otherwise, who, for whatever reason, are causing disturbances in class on a chronic basis. Orange County educators, and they use these practices more than anybody else, the statistics show, in the state of Florida, say, wait a minute, we're only using these techniques when we have to, only in emergencies with kids who have complex behavioral problems and engage in acts like hitting, kicking, and biting others or slapping themselves in the face. But a lot of parents and disability advocates and lawmakers want an end to restraint and seclusion. They argue that these kids are being traumatized, and some cases they're even being hurt. You can't have this chaos in these classrooms. If we're going to have mainstreaming of kids of all kinds, and you can make the case that that's a good thing, you can't have them disturbing the learning environment for the rest of the kids. What's everybody there to do? To teach and to learn. You got to get them out of there, or if you don't get them out of there and you legally can't get them out of there, you got to get them under control. What is going on in our classrooms? Who would have put up with this stuff? Who would have put up with this stuff when I was a kid? They would not. I would have been sent down to the principal's office and I would have been whacked with a paddle, and I would have been better off for it, and I would have gone home, and it was a, they whacked me with a paddle, Mom. And she said, wait till your father comes home. Please, let's go to Mark here in St. Cloud. Where do you all stand on this situation? I mean, there may be more to know than I know right now. But when we got out-of-control situations here, and Mark's joining me from St. Cloud, what are you supposed to do? Just let it happen? Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry, but good morning. How are you?
I'm okay.
I'm wound up.
Yeah, I am wound up on this, and I understand you've got some interesting perspective on this by virtue of what you once did. Explain that.
Yes, sir. I'm your pastoral counselor that calls in now and then, and I work for HRS, the Health and Rehabilitative Services, as a child protective investigator, state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I've been back at least twice, both times at school. I went in to interview a young lady who was about 10 years old, and she kicked me real hard by surprise, right where it counts, about dropping me to my knee. And the teacher had absolutely no control.
And now this kid wasn't disabled, just surly, huh?
Oh, very surly.
It wasn't like an autistic thing where they're really not fully in control of what they're doing or whatever?
No, and they actually have some special ed teachers for some of the kids that are disabled in one fashion or another.
Yeah.
And the second time I had a kid that just hauled off and punched me right in the gut. I mean, and he was a big kid. He was 12, but he was as big as me. It's out of hand. And back in the day when I was going through my training, I did an internship with a large Christian school, and parents would sign a waiver, and these kids would receive corporal punishment and be segregated. And I think that's truly the answer. I mean, just inappropriate dress interrupts the main flow of the education that we're supposed to be paying for.
So you suspect that Orange County's just doing what they flat have to do. I mean, and they're dealing with a horrendous problem.
That's the county that I work in.
All right, well, hang on, Mark, because you want to listen to this. I've got Donna, who's a teacher in Orange County, and she's seen an increase in the kind of problems that lead to the requirement for restraining or secluding these kids. 407-916-51. Is it cruel and unusual punishment? Or is it something you have to do to end the chaos in the classroom so the rest of the kids and the teacher have an opportunity for some learning? 6:52, real-time traffic and weather together on the twos now. Dawn breaking, going to be a hot one, sunny and 91, now 70 degrees in Orlando. From Alamon Springs, an Orange County teacher. Donna, good morning, and thanks for joining me on this topic.
Good morning. I have taught in Orange County for 28 years, and I have seen an incredible increase of children who have issues. Many of them are violent. We have had, I don't want to name the school I'm teaching at, but I'm at an A school. And we have had many, many, many children punching teachers, hitting other children screaming, cursing.
Now, are these kids with disabilities or not?
No.
Just with attitudes?
Many attitudes. Many of these children are foster children. We've seen an increase in foster children, so they have a lot of anger. And when they first come in, you know, they have to enroll, and we have to take them. And we have to go through a process where the children have to show county people. They don't have to, but the county people come in, and they observe these children being violent. We're talking, you know, throwing chairs, just horrible things that disrupt the environment. And finally, after we go through the whole process, which can take sometimes many months to document everything to prove that there is a problem, then there's a chance the child can go to a school like Cherokee and other special needs schools. But the process is long, and the teachers that go through this are
what about the restraining? Have you had to do that? Have you had to isolate a child?
I have been very fortunate to not have to do that.
Do you think it is justified based on behavior you have seen?
Absolutely. These children are dangerous. They're dangerous. We're not being abusive, you know, at least in the areas that I'm working in.
I really appreciate it, Donna. Thank you. And Brenda from Edgewater, welcome aboard on this debate. Good morning. Is this too tough? Are they being nasty to these kids, or is this just simply what you have to do to maintain order in a classroom these days?
I think it's, I have to agree with your earlier caller. It's what has to be done. I've seen teachers getting injured by these kids. I teach regular kids, but I've got some special ed kids in my class, and one time when I was out, I had one of these kids grab my substitute, corner her behind my desk, shove her into a bookshelf, and he was allowed to come back. They sent him home for a few days, but he was allowed to come back. I was cornered behind my desk this year, and
you should not have to put up with that. That should not be a part of your job as a teacher. I don't know how you recover from that. I don't know how you recover from that and then go on to the next math lesson or history lesson. I mean, I would have to believe you would have been upset and traumatized yourself the rest of the day, the rest of the week, maybe the rest of the year. Why in the world should you have to put up with that?
I had a medical problem the next day, and saw my doctor, and she said, you know, you need to have that kid taken out of your class.
What needs to happen, Brenda? What is the solution here? What is wrong with our system, and how do we correct it?
Well, I don't believe that these kids should be mainstreamed into the regular classroom, because what happens is the kids who are there to get an education, who are behaving themselves, they're being cheated.
I couldn't agree more on that, Brenda. Absolutely, yes. Here is Angie. Where are you on this, Angie?
But I have got a solution, because I have not taught in Florida, but I've taught in the Midwest. And everything these people described, crank it up 10 notches, and that literally is what happened to me. I worked with young people, normal, saw mainstream come in, it go downhill, saw parents cry in the classroom, my students not learning, the poor middle class and the poor average student in the classroom is truly losing out. But anyway, I know this solution, and you can thank Bill Bennett for that. He said if every person in America that understood schools, granted, if someone's retired and has never had a child in the school, well, they've got no business going to the school board meeting. But let's say a parent who has a student or had a student, if they went to a school board meeting and said, you aren't doing your job, 53% of the students graduate, and of that 53%, only 22% are reading at the 12th grade level.
So what you're saying is that it ought to be required that parents go to school board meetings and get engaged?
No, they asked the school board, put out a product that is 100%. Just like, do you think Procter & Gamble could have Tide on the market if only 22% of the boxes of Tide were filled?
I'm not quite sure I understand where you're going, and I'm out of time to try to figure it all out, but you made some good points. Thank you. Mike's in Winter Garden. Check it in. Time is tight, Mike. Help me out here.
Yeah, we've had this talk in the legislature about teacher job performance and bad teachers. But I wonder how much consideration has been given to the kind of problem that teachers are facing, and this brings to light the issue, in my opinion. That you can't talk about teachers not being good.
They shouldn't have to put up with this. It should not be part of their required job duties and description to put up with this kind of disruption and intimidation. There's no doubt about it. Now, listen to this. Sometimes it's kids with bad attitudes, lousy parenting, and the teachers have to deal with it. The rest of the kids' education is compromised because of the disruptions. If you got to restrain them, if you got to isolate them, do it. Basically, I'd just say a little bit more of that and kick them the heck out. I mean, I'm going to post this whole story in the Sentinel, and there are some compelling personal stories as well. But status quo isn't going to get it here. And until I'm shown otherwise, I'm reluctant to believe that Orange County is out of control in restraining these kids. Okay? They do it more than anybody else. I'm believing they're doing what they need to do to try to maintain some semblance of order in the classroom. Up next, well-known personal injury attorney Dan Newland, who does a lot of work on drunk driving cases, arrested for DUI. Many interesting angles to this. Stay with me. We'll talk. Now the news with Michelle at 7 o'clock on BHL.